Michael Patrick Murphy, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. With that, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Harnois. I would like to just point out that the fourth grade district-wide orchestra would not be if we didn't have strings earlier. So when you listen to these young children play, and I'm sure that you will be amazed at how good they are and how professional they are, you can thank our music program and our wonderful music teachers for the way that they perform and their level of expertise. So with that, Mr. Harnois, take it away.
I did want to kind of probably won't let me touch that about 2 years ago the district had right here, and it kind of hit me. Program, and I would. So we are performing at the festival Saturday, and for regional concert, special concert, we're going to. Probably there's not enough, so the first thing we're going to play is the Olympic fanfare. Everybody knows it. Olympic fanfare. kids is that the first time one single person is one.
bless you.
God bless you. Don't have these times.
Thank you, kids. Great job.
Thank you.
And parents, remember, this is what the third grade and the string starting early accomplishes. Wonderful. Are you the good news person? Like, we'll wait until they're...
I just took for granted it wasn't being played.
Yeah, I think it is.
Engineering
we're good.
team. Terry must be here. Academics.
How were you? How was the grand opening? Was it good?
Nice, thank you. Yes, it was very nice. It was fun.
Nice job there, Mrs. I. You know, that's what I call you. The rest of it's different, though. That's a beautiful cello, both of those.
Thank you, Mr. Harnois. Great job. As usual.
As always, yes.
As always. It's hard to get fourth. What are they, 9?
I know. It's amazing to me.
We could. I got it. It's right here. Yeah, I can't really talk and walk.
Everybody, good luck on the math.
I'm left-handed, so I was a challenge to everybody over everything.
Well, that's because when I started playing guitar, They said, no, you don't play left-handed. You just
even though
learn
it's
to play
math, you gotta read
right-handed.
Yeah.
they want.
They,
So-
well, they wanted you to learn how to do everything.
I
Yeah.
gotta get the chair that isn't tipper.
Case, brother.
Yes, he is.
I just have to get a chair that.
It doesn't rock.
Is Scott coming
You want
tonight?
mine?
No, Scott coming.
Oh,
Okay. If this chair doesn't rock.
you want mine? Pat, take mine. Take mine. Mine doesn't. No, that's fine. I'm a mover. I don't care if it rocks.
Yeah, you're always shaking your leg.
I can't sit still.
Here, I'll give you this one.
No.
Huh? Yeah, just, why didn't
Look at them with their medals hanging. That's so nice.
So, I gotta go over it again.
Mr. Crabtree.
Is that young lady special? The one I put in there, the name?
Well, I mean, for
Is
the
that-
good news.
She's one of my faves.
Okay.
She was up there on stage.
I thought she was. The name, when I got home and looked at it.
Yes.
That's one from the Optimist Club.
Yes.
But there's quite a few of your kids. Yeah. One of them, Mr. Smiley, is getting music, whatever.
Good. Good. He was there today.
But you would be very happy that, I want to say there were 20 kids that applied that were from Canteen.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Good. I wasn't sure.
Not all of them are going to get some,
No,
but
no, no.
you'll
They
know
do
when
know.
they get
That's
up there.
fine.
You'll
Yeah,
know when you
that's
see
perfect.
those.
That's
But
great.
that's a lot.
That
Good
is a
evening,
lot.
everyone. Can everyone hear me? Great. Good evening, everyone. I must admit that I do love having board meetings on Mondays, but the best part of a board meeting is the recognition. So my partner in crime, Mr. Carbone, and I want to acknowledge some of our amazing students. In recognition of your taking first place in the 2012 Shell Eco Marathon Americas, we'd like to acknowledge Michael Baker, Michael Ann, thank you.
Youngest people there.
Jacob Pinsell. Joseph Stokes. Maggie Donahoe. Jessica. Congratulations.
And we've done.
Recognition of your participation academic, the Catholic competition, we recognize last but not least, in recognition of our students placing fourth in mid-state B division national competition. Person. Tui. Angela Rice.
She's doing her homework.
My how
Because
she's
Mr. Rice
changed.
makes her do homework, right? Congratulations to you and all of our other recipients.
Starting about a year or two ago, rather than do separate proclamations and recognition days and weeks, we decided to group them together for the sake of being able to get them all in during the course of the year. I just want to stress that in no means by putting them together do we minimize the importance of each group that is involved. I can tell you, and I've said this before, that, our employees are the best employees. They care. They work hard every day. They care not only about our children, but they care about each other, and they care about the product that we put out in an effort to give our children and our students the best education possible. So, again, these words here are sometimes they're similar from group to group, but I can't express to the office personnel, the teachers, nurses, the transportation personnel, how much the 9 of us and Dr. Dice and the administration appreciate everything that you do on behalf of our children. The words on this paper can't even begin to express how deeply grateful we are. Throughout history, office personnel, teachers, school nurses, and transportation personnel have had an impact on the district's students' community. They work for the well-being, welfare, and future of our children. This awesome responsibility is accepted with commitment, dedication, and even love. Because of the complexity and diversity of their role, they must be flexible, resourceful, positive, and patient. The office personnel, teachers, school nurses, and transportation personnel of the North Syracuse Central School District are professionals of the highest caliber who have dedicated themselves to the ideals of their profession. Students, parents, administrators, and community members recognize, applaud, and appreciate their efforts to ensure students receive a quality education. To honor the office personnel, the teachers, the school nurses, and the transportation personnel of the North Syracuse Central School District, and their accomplishments and effort on behalf of our community's most valuable resource, our children, I, Pat V. Carbone, President of the Board of Education of the North Syracuse Central School District, on behalf of the Board of Education, express our deepest gratitude and hereby declare April 25th, 2012, Office Personnel Appreciation Day, May 1st, 2012, Teacher Appreciation Day, May 2nd, 2012, School Nurse Appreciation Day, and May 3rd, 2012, Transportation Personnel Appreciation Day, to be celebrated with appropriate educational activities. And I would like to make that motion. I would like a second. Tony, all in favor? That's unanimous. And if the leaders of those groups could come and introduce those folks that are here tonight, we'd appreciate that. Okay. Allen Road School BPT. Come on up, Allen Road.
Well, I am not sure exactly what I've done to anger the educational gods. Note to self, do I want to follow the young string students who do an outstanding job, the science kids at the high school who do an outstanding job, or the office personnel and the teachers who all do an outstanding job? And I get to follow all that. So obviously I've made somebody upset somewhere.
Oh, you can hold on.
We are going to show
you'll
you,
be
though,
fine.
the great things happening at the building level. And hope that you enjoy this presentation. So thank you for inviting us. It actually is a pleasure to have the chance to come back and share the progress that we've made across the year. In the past we've shared our plans at the beginning of the year, and we haven't had that opportunity to come back and say, here's how it's going, here's what we're finding. And about 3 or 4 years ago at Allen Road, our BPT started doing a mid-year progress meeting where we came back to the goals toward the end of January, beginning of February, to see if we were on target to hit our objectives for the end of the year. So this is kind of nice to follow up on that and be able to bring it to the board. Tonight, just like these multicolored handprints, our goals are both the same and different at each level. All of our goals are data-informed, all of our goals are student-centered, and all of our goals are driven by the question of what we're going to do for those differently for those students who aren't getting it. And that's really the lens that we've filtered everything through. But yet, they're different in the sense that some of these goals, as you've seen, are target groups. Some are for entire grade levels. Some are for breaking reading down into, or ELA down into reading and writing. Some are keeping that as a whole. There's variation, and there's autonomy at the grade level for them to choose what area they think they should focus on, but there's also that vertical alignment of the goals across the building. So tonight, very quickly, I will post to remind you what our learning objectives and evidence of learning were, but really briefly summarize the current progress so we can move through this rather quickly. At kindergarten, the focus in math was around number sense. And our progress on this so far this year is we are just under our goal at the midway point of the year, with 86% of the students achieving mastery of the numeral identification from 1 to 10. You don't see 1 to 20 up there because it is 11 to 20 that they'll start working on for the second half of the year. And 84% of the students that can independently form sets of 1 to 10 in multiple ways. So on that second part, we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule with the students having the flexibility to form those sets. Kindergarten is one of the grade levels that split ELA up into reading and writing. The progress so far in the reading area, as you can see, just under half of the students achieve 90% or better on the level C by the end of the second marking period. So that's almost half the group being at the level by halfway through the year. So again, we feel like we're on target to hit that. 84% of the students from the targeted group have acquired more than 50% of the letter names. So again, the grade level chose the target group of those kids at the beginning of the year that were scoring low, and already 21 out of the 25 students have hit that target. A little bit over half of those students have acquired more than 50% of the letter sounds. Some of this at the kindergarten level is obviously dependent on how they present the letters across the year and how that sequences out. In writing, we've continued with the goal of completing a paragraph by the end of the year. This year, our kindergarten team adopted the Lucy Calkins model, and they've been kind of adapting to that and learning more about that. You can see at the top the A, B, and C parts of this goal, this writing goal. 69% of students by the midway point of the year could do a picture with labels. About 1/3 of the students could do a picture with labels and a complete written thought. And 7 students, 1%, could complete all A, B, and C by the midway point in the year. I think one of the important things to point out there is because we've fallen below 100 students at each grade level, we're at a point now where 1% can be up to 7 students shifted one way or another on a goal. So with some of these goals, you know, the percentages, I've included both the numbers and the percent so you can get some context there. First grade, in math, again, there was a focus on number sense. And what we're seeing here is basically steady improvement toward that 70% or better on the quarterly assessments. First quarter, 62% hit that point. Second quarter, 73% of them hit that point. 100% of the students have shown growth in the fact fluency assessments. And I wanted to highlight this just very quickly because this is connected to the math lab that our first grade team decided to do this year. In addition to the 60 minutes of trailblazers during the course of their day, they also built a structure for a math lab. So just like in reading, we often regroup kids by different skill deficits or reading levels. They regrouped kids for a math lab according to the math skill deficits. And then while some of the kids would be in social studies or science, some of the kids that had been targeted went to a math lab. And they really came up with a very creative way to fit this extra support in and extra focus in within the day without compromising that 60 minutes for the trailblazers. And 100% of those students have actually shown growth in that area. For reading, kind of a nice statistic here. Actually, the numbers are wrong. I'm going to proudly point them out. It actually should say that 34% of those first graders were below the adequate level, and it's actually down to 18%. This is a really neat thing to see that they targeted the students who fell below that level on the DRA, have really focused on that group, and at this point, I got my glasses, I'm sorry, that those 26 kids who are in the target group is now down to 14. And for that third bullet in the middle part where, the second bullet where it says 100% of those target students will increase by 5 levels from fall to spring DRA, by the end of the second marking period, 21 out of the 25 students in that target group had already moved 5 DRA levels. And what their intent there to do is to say, even if every student doesn't hit the goal by the end of the year of the DRA level 18, we want to see X amount of growth in every student. So we may have a student who doesn't hit the 18, but has gone from a 2 or a 4 up 5 levels. And 21 out of those students, 21 out of 25 have already moved the 5 levels. And those 4 remaining are on course to get there by the end of the year. Again, first grade has been doing Lucy Calkins for a few years now and working with that, so writing has been a big focus for them. By the end of the second marking period, 3/4 of the students could write 3 or more simple related sentences. Now, we don't know what the last 2 marking periods will hold for that other 23%, but at this point we feel like we're at least on target to hit that goal, if not a little bit ahead. In second grade, for math, I think these numbers tell us some great things, because if you look at the addition, moving up from 85 to 91%, scoring a 3 or 4, but the subtraction piece is where you really see that growth, 56% at the end of the first quarter, jumping up to 79% of those students getting a 3 or 4 by the end of the second quarter. And that's a very difficult developmentally, moving from the addition to the subtraction to second grade level. Typically, I'm very proud of the fact that we have 91% already there with addition. But to see that jump up to 80% by the end of the second quarter with subtraction, that's some great growth that we've seen in the first 2 marking periods. For ELA, we're seeing that steady growth, 77%, a little dip at 66, and then 74, that have achieved that 75% or higher for the comprehension scores. And on the unit tests, again, we're seeing that steady increase, 72% to 84%. At the end of the year, this will be an 80% criteria that we'll measure, but during the year, it's a 75%. Third grade was one of the grade levels that had a targeted group that they chose to look at. They chose to look in math at the group that was performing at the basic understanding level on the 2009 third grade math practice. So they gave that math practice, they scored it, they had a half a day of doing data analysis work in the fall to look at targeted areas, and they really went at some of the strategies for taking the state test. More than half of that targeted group is already increased by 1 rubric point from the baseline data in December to the first assessment data in February. And again, I want to highlight that because this was something that by the time they went through giving the practice test in the fall, doing the data analysis, really some of the tools that they were going to implement didn't get up and running fully until late November, early December. But from December to the data assessment in February, we already saw more than half the kids increase by 1 rubric point. And then just to give you some other statistics, they're taking a very close look at what types of strategies the kids are using. Where we're going to go with this, I think, is to next ask the question of what means effective use of these strategies. Because we can give you evidence that kids are highlighting. You can look at the test booklets and see that there's highlighter from start to finish. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're using them at the right places, at the right times, for the right purposes. So both third and fourth grade with a lot of the test-taking strategies are starting to look more at what that effective use of those strategies is. I see you laughing, Bob.
Stan knows why I'm laughing.
Third grade for ELA. Again, they worked with Time for Kids articles and Scholastic packets and 5Ws packets. This is all centered around comprehension and implementing those strategies. Almost 2/3 of the students were effectively using 3 out of 5 of the strategies. And 2/3 were effectively using 3 out of 5 strategies for the 5Ws packet by the end of February. We are anxiously awaiting those results now to see if the implementation of those strategies actually translates into improved scores. Fourth grade for math, again focusing on the growth of the word problems. 3/4 of the students improved by at least 1 rubric point on common grade level assessments, again by the end of the second marking period. When you're talking about a 4-point rubric, moving 1 rubric point is some really strong growth. So having 3/4 of those students improve by that amount is very encouraging. We're very proud of that. For ELA, again, finding the effective strategies. 68% of the fourth grade students improved by at least 1 rubric point on the look back and write assessments. The second part down here is actually very interesting because we struggle with this as to how to present it to you. But really, in essence, what we found was this. Chose a strategy in the fall, based on some of the early data we looked at. And when they got to the practice test, and chime in if I explain this the wrong way, when we got to the practice test, what they really found was the initial strategy wasn't having an impact on how they were performing according to the practice test results. So we met together at the grade level meeting, talked about different strategies, and they actually shifted gears to work to move away from the identifying of page numbers within the test to what they've created as a trifold, which helps with comprehension strategies. And already, just from January to very recently, they've seen 76% of the fourth grade students are improving at least 1 rubric point on those selection tests. So it was good to see them not just sit with the same strategy and wait until the end of the year for the state test to find out whether they hit the mark or not. They did that. They used that mid-year data to say, this is not having an impact. It's not having an effect. Let's switch gears. Let's change up. Let's find something else. And already what they chose, the route they chose to go, has had an impact, a positive one. Some other pieces, not going into detail, but character education and attendance. Currently, we're at 96.3% student attendance. We've had some bouts with the flu in the building and things like that, but overall, we've had strong attendance. 326 parents have signed up for the e-notification system, which in a building of 425, that's a pretty good percentage to have those folks, getting into the communication between home and school, being aware of what's going on in the district. We were at around 200 to 250 last year, so that's gone up almost 100 this year. Wow. Again, we had our Labor of Love event this year for Camp Healing Hearts, and we raised $1,000 through our bowl and plate donations, and the attendance was great. The meal was great again. I'm telling you, you're missing out if you're not coming for this meal, those of you who stopped by. And we were able to donate the remaining food to St. Lucy's Food Pantry. The kids all really got a sense of connecting character out to the community, and that's what we really appreciate. Not to mention they really go nuts over their teachers' bowls. I will have to say, though, that after being dethroned for 1 year, I believe I took over the auction first place again. Yeah. And as far as character ed, again, taking a look at referrals, our referrals are at approximately the same amount as they were at the midpoint for last year. I believe we had just over 60 last year total for the year. We had 34 as of January 30th. A third of those being the bus. We've tried to implement the ABC program with our bus, and it's definitely helped bring the number down. It's still higher than we'd like it to be. We actually have one bus that I'm telling you right now, it looks like the clown's coming out of the car at the circus. We have 64 students on one bus, and they just keep coming and coming and coming off of that bus. So that poor driver's got his hands full. But we're working on it, and the ABC awards are something that the kids have taken to very well. So I have no clue whether I've stayed under or over the 10 minutes, but any questions that you'd like to ask us about the goals, about our progress, or about what our focus is at Allen Road this year?
I'd like to make a few comments. I want to apologize. Stan knows the reason I did that is because my class was well known for highlighting. So it's a kind of private thing. But
want to know the story?
No, we do not want to know the story. The one thing I admire Allen Road, and I apologize for not being there that much this year. I apologize. Is the team effort in your school, Dave. The staff works very diligently, as was shown up there on the screen. They work very, very hard, and they work well together. And I think one of the things I admire is that you people stepped up. I know I've said this before. You've stepped up with the new evaluation system. 100%, I believe, Dave, are using that, and that's going to be great for our school district. So I want to thank your staff for all that.
I appreciate that, Bob, and I appreciate you mentioning that because the work with the new evaluation system has really been a whole entire new layer of learning for the staff at the building this year. But the conversations across the building are just unbelievable. From our hallway conversations to staff meetings to grade level meetings to the Common Core Institute folks that have been willing to step up. It's really just changed the entire depth of the conversation that we have around student learning about what teachers are doing. And that layered on top of all the goals and everything has really been, it's put a lot on the plate, but it's all been very beneficial. Thank you for mentioning that.
I just want to add also, whenever I visit Allen Road, you can always just tell that it truly is a family affair. And even though you said you won, you took first place for the bowl.
Little bragging rights.
But you may have those bragging rights, but I know someone in the audience has bragging rights that the Giants are the Super Bowl winners. So we won't. We know who that person is. Having said that, I always enjoy visiting Allen Road as well as all of the other schools. But you can just tell it truly is a family affair. And as all the other schools do, the teachers, parents care about our students and their success.
Thank you.
I couldn't resist.
And we had, well, my Jets didn't even make it, so I knew I'd get a little bit of it. Trish McAmonico, Amber Coker, Renee McFalls, Lori McClintock, Linda Earl, Kathy C., Tricia Nelson are all here from the building. They're all part of our BPT, our building efforts, and we appreciate them coming out to support tonight as well.
Great. Thank you. Great job. Thanks, Dave. Okay. Cicero Elementary. move the chairs out. You can put them in any
Anyway,
Told them there's room for
configuration
all
you
of
like.
them. We're here from Sister OL. I want to introduce some of my BPT members. Lori Blackburn from kindergarten, Carol Hallenbeck, first grade, Liz Lockwood, third grade, and Suzanne Zog is here from art. And they wanted to join me here because they've worked so hard this year on our building plan. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and present our progress to this point. And I also want to thank all of you for your responsible leadership and your dedication to the district. Budget that you adopted, I know it was very, very hard for all of you to do, but I think it encourages us to keep doing what we do, knowing that you're behind us, and we appreciate that. In the fall, we came and talked to you about our goals for the year, what we wanted to accomplish, and today we just want to give you a brief update on where we're going. Not all of our BPT members could make it tonight. In kindergarten, our goal was to increase the identification of kindergarten words by 30 new words from October to June. Now, we had a little bit of a snafu when we were coming up with our progress data because some of our kids came in knowing a lot more of the words. So they couldn't increase by 30 because we weren't testing by 30 extra words by the middle of the year. But we have already talked about adding onto that at the end so that we can have a more realistic figure to present to you in our end-of-year data. As of now, students who came in identifying 10 or fewer words, 80% have increased by 15 or more, so we're very, and this was at the end of March, we're very sure that they're going to make their goal by the end of the year. And of those who could identify 25 or fewer, 80% of those also increased by 15 words or more. And then, of course, there are students, and this is just the words that we measured at that point. Many of them know far, far more words. In addition, we have students who are struggling with some of the kindergarten concepts that are working with our ELVs. And I know that you have all met our ELVs. They're wonderful, and they come in and they work really hard with our kindergartners. 17 currently are working with our early literacy volunteers. Those students have increased an average of 8 letter sounds since January. We don't start them working with the ELVs right away because they're still learning how to stand up when they're asked and sit down and walk in a line down the hall. So they've already shown great improvement, and they have an average of 19 words, those 17 students who are working with the volunteers. In first grade, our ELA goal was that all students would advance 6 Fontes and Connell levels. That's similar to the DRA levels. And what we wanted to do is not have an end goal for every first grader, but have every first grader have an individual goal of increasing from where they started to where they end. And we have found that of all the students who started with us in the fall, they've already increased. Every one of them have increased 3 or more F&P levels, and 96% of them have increased 4 or more. 75% of all of our first graders are already at or above the end of April benchmark. They were as of the end of March. First grade math, our goal was that all students would receive a score of 3 or 4 on the end-of-year math assessment. And this is an assessment that the first grade teachers got together and developed based on the first grade curriculum. They're working really hard this year, all of the teachers, on assessments, formative assessments and mid-year assessments and end-of-year assessments. And one of the half days that we were given to work together, they worked on developing this end-of-year math assessment. They also did a mid-year assessment, and 76% of our first graders are already scoring at the 3 or 4 level on the mid-year math. And those students who aren't, the teachers are working strategically with them as they do with the reading groups. They're looking at where they're not being successful and doing extra strategies, extra interventions with those students. Our second grade ELA goal was to increase a minimum of 1 level on the Accelerated Reader program. Accelerated Reader is a program that some of the schools are using. Our second grade, all of our second grade students are on Accelerated Reader. It's very motivating for kids. They go. All of our library books are coded with a color, and the kids know what color they are. They read the books, they take the test, and they're very excited to do better. It's individually. Every student goes in and they can do it at home. Parents can look at where they are and what they're reading. So 71% of the students already have increased one level or more in the January-February testing. Some of the teachers checked the data at the end of January and some at the beginning of February. So they're all about the same. 71% have already increased the one accelerated reader level, and that's a grade level. The AR level is a grade level. In third grade, the goal was to determine the meaning of unknown words. What they wanted to do was have students use context clues to figure out the words, because what we found when we looked at the data on the third grade ELA test and on the fourth grade as well is that if kids don't know the word, they just skip over it. They don't know it and they don't spend a lot of time on it. So we've really been working on teaching them how to use the context to figure out unknown words. Now, this was difficult. They developed a pre-test and they developed a post-test. They gave the pre-test, but they haven't given the post-test yet. They hadn't developed a mid-year test. So we looked at the other goal, which was 64% of students will score a 3 or 4 on the New York State ELA assessment, and that's data that's given to us, a goal that's given to us at each school. Our goal was 64%. So the progress, the way that they had to measure it when we went back to the teachers and said, we need to know where you are so far. The one thing that they had all done in common was the Ames Web. The third grade teachers are using Ames Web, which I don't know how much the board's talked about that for going into next year, having a universal screener. A lot of teachers have already been trained on Ames Web. So they looked at 2 pieces that they feel the context clues, the skill is helping them with their fluency and with their comprehension. So they measured that, and we have a lot of graphs. Ames Web gives you lots and lots of data. So what we looked at was what the national norm is and how our third graders are doing, and we are at or above the national norms for both comprehension and fluency in our third grade. On third grade math, again, they did a pre and a post test, and they're focusing their strategies in math groups on using estimating skills to solve problems. Again, that was one of the things that showed up in our data analysis where students were not being successful. And with the Ames Web, they looked at math concepts and applications, which was one measure, and then math computation. And again, all of our students are at or above, not all of our students. The average of third grade students is at or above national norms for both of those skill areas on the Ames Web test. In fourth grade ELA, this is the only grade level that looked at one target group instead of the whole grade level. We had a lot of AIS students in fourth grade this year. And so that was because of the cut scores last year, and you all have heard about that. We had a large number of AIS. So what the fourth grade teachers decided to do was every day, for 20 minutes a day, they were sitting with their AIS reading group, like say Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday, they'd sit 20 minutes with their AIS reading group, and on the alternate days, 20 minutes with the AIS math group. Strategic interventions with those kids on, for example, in math, we looked, in the fall, we started with subtraction, and in fourth grade, we started with comprehension. So those, in addition to their AIS that they get every 3 days a week, the teachers were sitting with just their AIS students. So their goal was, now understand that 100% of our AIS students didn't get a 3 or 4 on the tests because they wouldn't be AIS students. So we thought if we could take half of those students who got a 2 or below and raise them up to a 3 or 4, that would be a good intervention. So 50% or more of AIS ELA students will score 3 or 4 on the New York State assessment. And we gave, little less than a month ago, the day one of a previous year's ELA test and used that as our progress monitor. Day one is a good indicator of a student's final score. And we've found this over the years. A lot of you know Jerry Murphy, Jerry Marks. She studied those tests every year, and she really felt that day one was a good indicator. So we've been using that, and 64% of our current AIS fourth graders scored a 3 or 4 on day one of the test that we selected to use for monitoring. And in fourth grade math, the same thing. We're targeting our AIS students. Our goal is that 50% or more of them will score a 3 or 4, and 50% of them did score a 3 or 4 on day one of a previous year's math assessment. So, of course, we're still working with these groups. We're going to continue working with them throughout the year. The math test doesn't mean that math is over for the year, because we want them to do well on their 5th grade and their 6th grade tests. So we're going to continue those interventions. And that's what we have. Of course, we have no behavior problems at Cicero L, and our attendance is beautiful. So we stay about 97% with attendance, and we have
some referrals.
Very few. Very few.
They're afraid to see us.
So are there any questions about our school or our presentation?
I just want to, can't say you're my favorite school. I gotta be careful there. One thing I know Cicero does, and I know the other buildings probably do it too, and it's a tribute that the art teacher is here, because if it's continued since I've been at Cicero, they develop a program with all of the subjects, including music, art, the orchestra, and the band. Those teachers are also involved in teaching math skills, reading skills, and I think that's why you have a successful program, because you work as a team. Just a couple questions. First question is, how do you like this process? Mr. Finkel came to us, if I remember, last May with this process. It was going to be a new process with the BPTs, where you would come in the fall and present your goals, and then you probably want to do it later on in the year. Come in and tell us a little bit where you are. How have you liked the process?
When Mr. London was talking about the education guides, I thought he was talking about ELA tests, math tests, Board of Education presentation. Yes, forms are going to be due soon, and we're finishing up our observations. I thought he was going to talk about that. It's been it's a crunchy kind of time right now, but we're doing the work. So to come and share that with you, it took a little bit of extra time to put the numbers together and come up with how we want to present it, but we want you to know the work that we're doing. We're happy to do this process. I like the idea of coming in the fall and coming again. I don't know if, are we still coming one more time after this? Okay, then yes. I like I like that.
You don't want to
we got about
more?
5
You don't
more
want
of
to come
these.
back again?
I feel that the first time is very soon. Because we didn't talk about our strategies. We weren't really ready for that yet. And to just tell you our goals, that doesn't really tell you very much. But what we're going to do about it and how we're going to work with kids might be a little more important. But what do you guys feel about that? And it's nice to sit at BPT and see, for first grade teacher to see what the third grade is focusing on and how they're doing, and for the kindergarten teachers to see, it's nice that the BPT is doing that task.
I got to put Ms. Lockwood on the spot here with the new testing. And be honest, I would like you to be honest. The third grade test, I believe, was increased, and I can't imagine this, 90 minutes for a 9-year-old to sit.
3 days in a row.
3 days in a row with a 5-minute break.
I can't sit 90 minutes now.
I was only on the first day. See that? So I honestly, how How did you think it went? I mean, for a kid that age to sit that length of time to read, how many passages? You remember how many passages that first day? Quite a few, nine passages, and answer multiple choice questions. How did you feel it went? I hate to put you on the spot, but.
Yes.
We're doing this. I have as much at stake, not
Right.
I can read it at stake,
Yes.
too, but these are my babies. You know, when I work so hard. He's got a good team all the time. Yeah, they were getting tired, and I need to put them on the bench, but there was no other players in there. And I don't. All my players. This was really. It's a long time, but we'll deal with it.
It's not reasonable.
I said from the, this is important. You have to be able to sit and work.
When they made the changes, I know I had grave concerns, just developmentally, to ask that of a child developmentally at that age group. You know, we used to consider it a challenge when we. These are little people.
Thank you for being honest. I appreciate
I hope that there's an opportunity for us to get back on this before the test results come. And I think, and I would hope that you know, we could let the powers that be and know our concerns, and if we do it before the results, you know, come back, it has more
Comparison. So if you look at is so different and some of them are 8, some are 9, but still they're young. And
Anyone else?
Are there any other questions?
Great job, Kathy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
one thing.
Do we have any board committee reports?
I have some.
Audience.
First of all, I apologize, and I'm
Is it a committee
sorry.
report or a comment?
I have both.
Both, okay.
I apologize for being late, and I was very sorry to have missed the strings, but my daughter was operated on this afternoon for carpal tunnel. But I had to wait until Nurse Richard, my son, came from work to sit with her. She's a little loopy from the anesthetic. But I just wanted to talk about a wonderful program that Bob and I and Tony, naturally, and John Rice and Stan attended the grand opening of the canteen. It was like the movie. They laughed, they cried. It was wonderful. Some alumni there of the program, the kids, and some of the founders and founding members who conceived the idea of having the program there, and both of our county legislators were there, and Mr. Miller and Assemblyman Sturpey, who was responsible for getting the funding, and it was just a wonderful event. I didn't know if Tony, because she doesn't like to brag, would talk about it, but I felt it was something worthy of mention and really a milestone for our community and a wonderful.
Thank you, Kim.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Sandy.
I just wanted to say a few things. I know at the end Mr. Carbone will say some wonderful words about these people, but Robert Connell is retiring. 27 years in the music department. We've heard him so many times, the leader of probably one of the outstanding orchestras in Central New York. And what impresses me mostly about Robert is that he also is the string instrument teacher at Bear Road. And the other day, he played for the senior citizens. He went around like you were at a restaurant to all the senior citizens. But fabulous that he not only works with the high school students, but he works with elementary students. That is going to be a great loss for this school district. Another person that Sandy knows is Mary Simmons, 29 years teaching assistant in our school district, but Sandy and I know her as part of the family at Bear Road School, and her kids went through Bear Road School. And what a great mom and what a leader in the PTG or the PTO at Bear Road. And I know Pat will say some things at the end. We just lose so many wonderful people. Two people that we gave awards to the students. Terry Rice, leader of the math department. I don't know the gentleman at the junior high. His name is Skip, was here with his group. He's retiring. So we're losing some really quality people. Excitement. I read in the paper the other day. Surprised. Brianna Stewart, Basketball Player of the Year of New York State. I mean, she's the United States. Now she's won the award for Player of the Year in New York State. But I think somebody that we forget about is Eric Smith, the coach. We have praised so many of the players and the team, 2 years to have a championship. But Eric has been the coach. And if you know anything about coaching, one of the teachers talked about Jim Boeheim. You know, you work hard to win one state championship, but to come back with some new guards on your team, even though you have Brianna, to win a second championship, that is really very, very difficult. And I don't know, down the road maybe, Dr. Dice, we could honor the coach because he was chosen by his peers as coach of the New York State basketball. So I just wanted to I just read it in the paper the other day, and that is something that we should be proud of as a school district.
Catherine?
I would like a committee started on all-day kindergarten. Should the state decide to take back the $3.9 million and not give it out anymore, I will keep quiet. But as I found out this year that they're still giving it out, I'm not going to give up. So could you see what we could do about starting a committee, and I would like to be a part of that. Thank you.
Just wanted to remind everybody in the audience who heard those wonderful fourth graders, 9-year-old children, the way that they play those very difficult instruments to master. Bob Connell was the person that taught my daughters in second grade, actually, at Smith Road. You saw the young students, the decathletes, and the people, the kids that we recognize this evening. Those are all products of the fact that we're able to provide extracurricular activities and music and athletics to our students. So I just want to remind everyone to get out there and vote, to tell everyone that you know who is of age to vote, to get out there and vote, because even though I don't think any one of us was really totally comfortable with what we voted on last week, because I think we all wanted more, but understanding the restraints that some of our constituents are under financially and, physically and all the other reasons that would make them vote one way or another, we were able to keep those programs intact for this year again. So I just wanted to remind everybody to get out there and vote. Dr. Dice, did you have anything to say?
And if you're not registered to vote, come out and register so you can vote.
You have to go see the district clerk, or if you're registered to vote in a county election, you're automatically registered to vote.
As an update regarding the budget, we have had the opportunity to meet with a variety of different groups, kind of like a mini road show. Thursday of last week, it was the firefighters. We also met with transportation. We're going to be meeting with high school. We're also going to be meeting with senior citizens. Thank you, Bob, for getting us in front of some people. So we welcome any recommendations, anything that comes to mind in terms of groups that we may meet with. As Pat said, we've had to make some difficult decisions around the budget, but we are excited about the fact that we did not have to cut deep, really deep, into our programmatic offerings for our students. We tightened our belts, and as all of the presentations have gone that you've seen us, we're attempting and we're working hard to continue to be fiscally responsible. But in the end, the most important thing was to ensure that our students still had the best teachers standing before them and the best programming that we could deliver, as well as all of the other extracurricular activities that make the whole high school or educational experience what it should be for our young people. So we appreciate all of our stakeholders who have continued to come out, ask questions, send us emails, give us recommendations. We appreciate those who aren't here but are watching us. We appreciate the fact that you have given us some great feedback in terms of trying to ensure that we are being transparent and answering the kind of questions that we need to answer for our taxpayers to feel comfortable in voting when the time comes. And so once again, if there are any recommendations or suggestions around who you think we can meet with, we still welcome that information. You can send myself or Donald Keegan an email, or you can send Connie. Somehow, some way, it'll get to one of us. And thank you again.
Participation in government students, come on up and we'll sign your forms for you. Any one of us can sign. Come on right up.
Well, thank you. Watch the reports. Don't hurt yourself. There you go.
There you go.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
Get it online. Yep.
What's that, the agenda?
Yeah. No, it says he wants some of the PowerPoint. Yeah. They're online. Stephen, you're good.
Hey.
Yep.
Like in the minutes and everything on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Routine action items. Were there any questions on those? Go ahead, Bob.
Mrs. Gibson and I have talked, but I am really, I guess something happened. I wasn't awake or whatever. On April 2nd minutes, 408, the bottom, it says Mrs. DiBianco made the motion. I don't remember this motion to give the direction to the administration to keep the tax increase at no more than 4.56 and add the elementary music and phys ed opt-out cuts. It says I voted no, along with Mrs. Owens and Mrs. Ciferrata-Brayton. I talked to Mrs. Ciferrata. She doesn't remember voting no. I don't remember a motion. I apologize if there was one. I would never vote no on that motion.
The week before last. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I went back and watched that, and what I got was it was kind of a opinion at the time whether or not we thought it was the right number or not. I didn't see it as a formal vote. I thought it was more of an opinion from what we knew at that point.
Well, I did not realize I would never have voted. I would never have
Well,
voted.
the clarification, Bob.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I believe that if I voted, because of the fact it was too low.
Yeah, you
Right.
wanted,
I think
you
that's
wanted
why
more.
you would have voted no, yes.
And never to take anything away.
Right.
And you made that
I wanted
clear.
11%.
Yeah, you made that clear last
in
week,
your
too.
statements, that you
Yeah.
were
Thank you.
voting no because you wanted
I'm
more.
just trying to help him decide why
When I
I voted
listened
no.
to
Yeah, you made that clear last week also, that
And
that's the reason you were voting.
Jackie voted no for the same reason. That
Really?
Yes,
Right.
that she wanted more.
I want more. We always want more, us women, you know.
Okay. Well, Bob, I can honestly say that I know that you would have never voted no, knowingly anyway. It was, well, they were very
Things get
emotional. They
tricky.
were very emotional meetings,
Yes,
and
very
they were
much
very
so.
stressful. And again, as I said earlier, I don't think any of us really voted for what we really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, some of us felt maybe a smaller tax increase would be the best way to go. Others felt that they wanted more. I think the compromise was hammered out.
Well, if I
pretty well.
voted no, it was because of the tax increase. It would
Right.
never have been
Right.
of the other
Exactly.
part of that.
That's what it was.
Okay.
And you were talking 3.9 at the
Right.
time.
Okay, are we okay with that?
It's just, it's the devil's in the detail, and honestly, unless you can give
It's
an
like
explanation for why each of us is voting, you could be here all night.
Okay, any more discussion on any of those? Can I have a motion to take A, B, C, D, and E as a group? Is that Pat? And second, Michael. Recommended action is to approve A, B, C, D, and E as submitted. All in favor? That's unanimous. And a second here. Okay, Mr. Keegan. Tax impact on the bust bond proposition.
As you know, the district's run a bus replacement program for quite a while now with the objective of keeping our fleet age to 8 to 10 years. And the primary reason for that is that the useful life of a bus in upstate New York with the salt and winter roads is about 10 years. At that point, we start to see a deterioration of the bus frame and difficulty passing DOT inspection. And when you have as many buses as the district has, it's important that we systematically replace the fleet. And therefore, consistent with prior years, we're recommending the purchase of 10 65-passenger buses and 2 specialty buses this year. And a couple things to keep in mind. That total purchase represents $1,250,652. Our aid ratio is about 81%. So the impact on the taxpayer in a $100,000 home is about $1.50
a year.
So it's a year. So it's a very nominal investment. Actually, it would be almost financially negligent not to purchase the buses, given the age ratio, given the critical nature of maintaining a safe fleet. And so the board, there's no action required by the board. You've already approved it. But I wanted to just make sure that everybody knew, that this was, a program that's been consistently employed for a number of years here in North Syracuse, that it's worked. The age of our fleet is in the 8 to 10 year range. What we do is we will retire buses every year. And occasionally we will keep one of the retired buses to give us a floater to rotate into the fleet. The purchases we're making in the upcoming year will include an extended warranty from the manufacturer, and in order to take advantage of that warranty, we have to part with a bus for a day. So having an extra bus to rotate into the fleet really helps us out. So it's incredibly economical to purchase these 12 buses for $1,250,652, and the impact before STAR is $1.50 a year. So it's
We just have to make sure that we explain exactly what it is and explain the savings, because last year the bus proposition went down, and we brought it back out again because the community really didn't understand what it was that they were voting on.
We've worked hard in both the district dispatch as well as our fact sheet that we're went to press with today to properly explain the bus proposition and the tax impact on the taxpayers.
No.
Matter of fact, thank you for mentioning that. We've worked hard to prepare a fact sheet which tries to address those frequently asked questions, kind of highlights of the budget presentation. And teacher conferences start tomorrow in the elementary schools. So the elementary schools will have sufficient quantities of these fact sheets that the teachers can be handing them out to the parents as they come in.
That was very helpful to us when we put the bus proposition up for the second time.
She's talking about something different. She's talking about something different. What we've done in the past is, and this sheet that I saw today is excellent, but goes home with every student in the school district. We usually do one a week. One's about the budget, one's about the proposition. And what it is, it's all questions that taxpayers would ask. And if you go back into the files, I'm sure you'll find them. And that's what we didn't do with the bus proposition.
But on the second bounce.
Yeah, but on the first time, that's what Pat was talking about. We didn't do it, and we need to do that. We also need to add a slide to your presentation, because I didn't see it today on the bus proposition, when you go to the different organizations. But she's talking about something which is, it's a question, then an answer. Question, answer. Very simple, one page, and it went home 3 or 4 times before.
The other thing that was very helpful was we had a chart on that had the age of the buses in the fleet. And that was usually part of the presentation, several years in a row. And that's Kay was the instigator of that probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it's a good thing because it gives people a visual. I mean, we didn't do it last year on the first go-round. We did it on the second go-round. I think let's do it on the first go-round this time because it lets people know that we're not just willy-nilly deciding, we want a brand-new shiny bus. That the buses are, this old and we rotate them, which is excellent, succinctly. But to have a visual to show the age of these buses and to show how we rotate them,
And we also showed what the cost of repairing and servicing those 12 older buses are versus what it would cost for the new. Because it actually, by having the new buses, it saves you in repairs and those kind of things.
Oh, sure.
Fuel.
Absolutely. Taking the buses off the road avoids a lot of repair and maintenance costs.
We just want to try to avoid, and it only narrowly failed the first time, and I think it was less than $1. I think it was less than $1.50 a year last year. So, yeah.
What I'll do is I'll add that slide to the public presentation on the age, fleet, and the proposition, and I'll include some information about repair costs.
We also explain why.
Wonderful car.
Yeah.
To have them with air conditioning.
And that's a very good point. I can do that.
Go on, Catherine.
I still have the information from last.
Sure. I think I have
the package. I'd be glad to get it off my chair. The next thing I need to ask you is, you got. Oh, okay. I know she is.
Okay. I'll make
a resident because I can fight, but I know what I'm talking about. But I can't fight with stuff I don't. All I know is when I heard it was a car, and they never move. Well, they don't move it unless they're on school business. And there's over 80,000 miles on these 2 vehicles. How many more years can we get out of these 2 vehicles without?
We actually considered replacing the Suburbans this year. We just felt like they were in pretty good shape.
They're in good shape, Kate.
Yeah, they look like they're brand new.
You can get a couple 100,000 miles out of those things the way that we maintain them.
2001 Suburban with 200,000 miles.
I want to make sure that you remember that for next year, and I want to just make sure that this gentleman gets his questions answered because let me tell you,
Well, we
I'll
bought
work with
those
Connie on that.
vehicles to transport the one or two. We have students, one that goes to Rome and one that goes to Binghamton.
You knew all that, too?
And
So was he referred to Don to begin with to ask the question?
I referred it to Connie to write out what I
we'll
had.
take care of it then.
What I had found out, yes. And, things did happen. That's what you going to do it.
All set?
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, discussion action items. Approval of the Onondaga, Cortland, Madison, BOCES administrative budget. Any questions on that at all? Discussion? Recommended action is to approve that resolution. Catherine made the motion. Second, Bob. All in favor? That's unanimous. Item B is the election of Onondaga, Cortland, Madison, BOCES Board of Education members. Motion. The recommended action is that Wayne Bronson, representing East Syracuse Manoa Central School District, fill the expired term of Wayne Bronson, which is his expired term. That William Pedrick, representing the Homer Central School District, fill the expired term of Michael Brady on the Board of Cooperative Education Services. That Miriam Wasmond, representing the Fabius Pompey Central School District, fill the expired term of Marianne Haley. And that V. Ann Wright, representing J.D., will fill the expired term of V. Ann Wright. Any questions?
Commented that I think Miriam is going to be a very bright, outstanding young.
Catherine, motion. Second. Sandy, all in favor? That's unanimous. Recommendation to abolish Director of Food Services. Annette?
Sure, I'll start this off, and if Don wants to add any details, that would be great. We need the board to pass a resolution because we've acknowledged the fact that the food service department is running in the red, and as a result have made some changes. As you know, you have already abolished the position of the assistant director, and worked with BOCES. They will be coming in to take over the supervision of that department. It does not affect any of the workers in that department, only the supervisor status. And because the person will no longer be our employee, we need to abolish the position.
Question? Discussion? Recommended action is to approve the resolution as submitted. Sandy, second Tony, all in favor? That's unanimous. We have the acknowledgement of a gift. Carolyn Mowers donated brand new hardcover books to the North Syracuse Early Education Program. The value of the books are approximately $250. The recommended action is to accept with gratitude the gift of the hardcover books. We appreciate all of the donations and the hard work that the members of our community do to help us to achieve what we do in the district. Motion, Tony. Second, Michael. All in favor? That's unanimous also. Do we need an executive session before we take up personnel items A, B, and C? Or, excuse me, A and B. I'm sorry. No? Motion to take them as a group. Tony. Second, Michael. I'd just like to acknowledge the retirements, which thank you, Bob, for helping me out there because it's nice that we have board members that know these individuals and in some cases have had long-term relationships relative to either being volunteers or being co-workers. It is very, very difficult to lose the years of experience that we lose.
39 years.
Well, we got what? We got 17, we got 39, we got another 39, and 17 and 27. In today's educational climate, it's virtually impossible to replace this kind of experience. Again, Robert Connell, always I've known him since my children were in second grade. The accolades that our orchestras and our string groups have received, and the quality of their performances and their skills is greatly due to Rob Connell. Very dedicated individual.
A lot on his own time.
Right.
Would come to
Right.
community organizations. I know he came.
Him and his wife both.
Yes, and they also with the Junior Symphony.
Yes.
He and Bob would come out with the kids, Syracuse stage, and perform. They came to Chadwick residence one Christmas. They've gone into not been on our dime.
Wonderful job.
Couple.
And you hate to think that the program won't be the same, but it will, because of the quality of the work that they have done and the groundwork and foundations that they have laid for these programs. We never thought the jazz ensemble would carry on as well as it did, but it did, because we have great people. Concetta Corasaniti retires with 17 years, another Henniger graduate. And that many of us are around in the school district. Concetta's dad and my grandpa came to this country from the same area in Italy and lived down the street from each other for many, many years and grew up knowing her family very, very well. Her nephew is the waiter that always waits on us at Twin Trees after the nights of the vote, that wonderful young man. So we'll miss them, and we wish them well in their retirement.
One thing also about Concetta is that she started off as an active parent,
Yep.
as many of our other staff.
They sure do. Recommended action is to approve A and acknowledge B as submitted. All in favor? That's unanimous. I'd like to make a motion that we move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing the employment record of 2 individuals with no action to follow. Second, Tony. All in favor? Unanimous, and we're adjourned.
School.